Welcome, welcome, ladies. Welcome to day 5 of the Food Freedom Challenge. All right, my name is Courtney. I'm your host for this challenge. I'm also the admin of this group. And today is our last day, and we're going to be talking about a simple tool that is going to help you binge less so you can lose weight and keep it off for good. So I'm really excited to have our last day. It's been such a fun week. And it's been amazing hearing all of you guys' wins. So I want you guys, whether you're here live or watching the replay, I want you to drop any wins that you've had so far this week into the chat below, okay? This is so important because our brain, the human brain, wants to kind of skip over any good stuff and really focus on anything negative. But if we can just bring attention to these little wins, that way you can see that, hey, I'm actually moving in the right direction. I'm making progress. This can mean everything as far as motivation to keep going on this journey. So definitely do that. Let's make sure that we celebrate those wins, drop those into the comments, and can't wait to celebrate you. And while we're on this subject, I've been reaching out to some of you all that have signed up for the challenge. And I do want to say this because I've heard this from more than one person. So dialogue such as this, like, oh, I suck. I totally missed that, Courtney. Or, man, I'm so behind. And I want you to know you are not behind, okay? I know I've thrown a lot of information out to you all. And it is by design because there is a lot of things that we need to go over in this challenge. But I also want you to know that any type of action that you've taken this week, so even if that's just peeking in and watching like 5 minutes of one of my live streams, or whether that is clicking on the playlist link and watching one of the replays in your own time, anything like that, even just signing up for the challenge, okay, raising your hand and saying, yes, I'm interested in this. That is heading in the right direction. So I just want to reiterate how important it is that we recognize any type of win, any type of action step, okay? This is so important. And no, you're never behind. And I will say this, I'm going to keep a playlist going on YouTube for quite a while so you guys can go in and watch the replays in your own time. And also, if you guys actually signed up for the challenge, maybe you could make a folder with all my emails so you guys can go through that when you have time. In addition, if you guys sign up for the challenge, you get like a 3 to 5 minute video. So that way you have all of the action steps just in a couple minutes. I highly recommend that you guys are watching those short videos so that way you can just, get like an overview of what we're talking about each day of the challenge and then actually get the challenge action step in just a few minutes, okay? So really important to celebrate those wins, and I promise you, like, any type of action that you've taken is a big deal and a step in the right direction. So put those wins in the comments, and we are going to head into just a quick recap. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because we are on the last day and we have a little bit to go through today. But day 1, and I think this is actually probably the most important day of the challenge, was day 1. And literally all we talked about on day 1 is common mistakes that women make when it comes to losing weight, putting a stop to the binge eating, and also getting those cravings under control. So really important, because here is the thing, ladies, okay? I get messages every single week, and here is usually what it sounds like, okay? Courtney, I'm taking action. I've tried everything and nothing is seeming to happen. So let me explain why this is happening. So you might even be taking action. Some of you guys are doing things like watching your portion sizes and doing your best to find, lower calorie options, that type of thing. I see you. I see that you are making a conscious effort. I see you guys go into the gym. Whatever you're doing, a lot of you guys are actually taking action. And I understand how frustrating it can be when you're doing things like meal prepping or making conscious, healthy decisions with your nutrition, or going to the gym or going to a group fitness class. I see you taking these actions, and I understand how frustrating it can be when you feel like you're actually putting some effort into your goals, but you're not seeing the results that you want. And a lot of times, it's not that, you need to work harder or you need to eat better, anything like that. A lot of times, you don't even know this, but while you're pushing on the gas, while you're taking action, you're also doing actions or inactions. So what that's causing you is, even though you're pushing on the gas, you're also pushing on the brake at the same time. So what happens when you do that in a car? You spin your wheels and you go nowhere, right? So that's what we need to know is if you are taking some actions, maybe you're not doing everything, but maybe you're starting to work out, you're going for a couple walks every week, whatever the case may be. But if you're taking action and you're not seeing the results, then more than likely, even though you are stepping on the gas, you're probably stepping on the brake at the same time. So that's why day one is going to be so important, because if you're struggling with cravings that seem to get more and more intense over time and they're hard to say no to, if you are struggling with binge eating, so whether that is at night, maybe it's on the weekends, or maybe you do pretty good and then at some point life will happen and then you find yourself falling back in old habits. If this is you, more than likely there is something that you're doing to step on the brake and is causing you to spin your wheels and really go nowhere. So, ladies, seriously, take the time to go through day one. It is the longest live stream, but it's really important to be aware of maybe some of these mistakes that you might be making that is putting a dent in the progress that you want to see. Day number 2, let's see, we talked all about, do you need to be strict with your nutrition? And we discovered that the answer is no. And in fact, this could actually be the very thing that is holding you back. Because like we talked about, being strict, being over depriving is going to lead to binge eating behavior eventually. So it might not be right away, but for most people, and we even talked about how no one's really immune to this. We see even bodybuilders do this stuff. So what we want to do is make sure that we're not being super strict with our nutrition and learn how to do things like flexible dieting, learning how to fit your favorite foods into your nutrition so you feel less deprived and less likely to overindulge later. Day 3, we talked all about protein. This was probably one of my favorite live streams that we did. If you guys happen to miss it, I have a protein hacks guide. It's free. It's got some outside of the box protein sources that you might not have even thought of. And not only that, inside this free guide, I have some recipes, including the macros. So if you guys want the free protein hacks guide, you guys can put protein in the comments, and I will send you a link to sign up for that free resource that will go right to your inbox. But protein's really important because we want to feel satiated. So we talked about just some protein sources that are going to help you build muscle and also stay full and satisfied. Really important on your weight loss journey. Yesterday, day 4, we talked all about how fat won't make you fat. Some dietary fat sources that you might want to add, because a lot of times, not only are we trying to eat as low calorie as possible, we're trying to eat as low fat as possible. And you guys probably know that the calories in fat are very, very dense. So meaning like a small amount has a lot of calories. But we also talked about the disadvantages of skimping on dietary fats, such as hormone health. It's really important to get adequate fat in your diet for optimal hormone health. We also talked about how it can add flavor and dimension to your meals. It can help you feel more satisfied, and that way you don't feel deprived and want to snack later. So really great day that we had yesterday. And we also talked about this idea of preemptive cheats. So basically with preemptive cheats, you are going to anticipate any cravings later in the day. Because here's the thing, have you ever noticed that a lot of times cravings are either like at night or sometimes they're like later in the week, like on the weekends? So the reason why that is because willpower is generally higher earlier in the day and also earlier in the week. And as that willpower starts to drain, that's when those cravings come in. And a lot of times we try to, do things like cut our calories the next day after maybe we overindulged the day before. We might try to do this as a way to, kind of even out our eating. But the problem is a lot of times this is just going to set you up to have more hunger and more cravings, which can lead to overeating unintentionally. So by implementing preemptive cheats, you're actually going to plan having either like a dietary fat, adding that to one of your meals, or even having just some kind of like moderate choice, something that's yummy. Maybe it's not like an all-out choice, but it's not like a super clean and super healthy choice. So I brought on my Built Bars, and for me, that's a great preemptive cheat. So if I'm having like a sweet craving, I'll have one of those Built Bars because it's 140 calories. It fills me up. It does have a little bit of protein, and it's going to help me prevent wanting to overindulge later on something else. So if you guys want my free preemptive cheat sheet, go ahead and comment cheat sheet, and I will send you a link to sign up. You get immediate access. It's totally free, and it's going to walk you through how to implement these preemptive cheats. So that way you mindlessly snack not as much later, as well as keeping those cravings more under control. So that is the recap. I am going to put a link to all of the replay. So you guys, if you want to be off of Facebook, you can comment replay, so I can just send it right to you. So you can watch that off of Facebook if you like, but I did post it in the group this morning. So thanks so much for being here. If you're just now joining us, make sure any wins that you've had this week, big or small, okay? There is no win that is too small to celebrate. And remember, anything like watching a couple minutes of a live stream, doing the daily nutritional commitments, picking out some protein sources that you want to try in the next couple weeks, all of those things count. I want to hear your wins. Pop those in the comments. You guys have been messaging me, but I haven't seen a lot of engagement in this group. So I want you guys to post those wins. All right, so today we're going to be talking about mindful eating. I'm really excited to talk about this because there's a lot of stigma around mindful eating doesn't work. It's too woo-woo. It's not going to help me lose weight. I've heard it all before, but let me tell you this, okay? A lot of times this is what I see. I see women who have two modes. They have starving and then they have stuffed, right? So what happens is a lot of us, we've been conditioned to eat as little as possible. I know for me, this has been my narrative for so long. And it wasn't really until probably my early 40s. So just really a couple of years ago, I really started to shift my mindset. The longer I went down this road, but yes, we've all been conditioned like, the smaller the better. We need to eat tiny portions of food. We need to maintain our lowest weight, right? Like this programming has been over and over and over again. Okay. So the issue here is that we've been so conditioned to eat as little as possible. This can actually backfire. And I would say that most people that struggle with cravings, out of control cravings and binge eating behavior, whether it's like frequent or not so frequent, most of it is due to just not fueling properly. Now, of course, there's some mindset stuff. So we've been talking about that throughout this challenge. We talked about how a lot of times binge eating or night snacking, whatever you like to call it, a lot of times we just really get into a habit loop, right? So it becomes automated. So that's why a lot of times you might look down and you're like, crap, I didn't even realize I ate like almost the whole bag of whatever you're eating. And that's really because we do a lot of things like eating on subconscious mode. So meaning we've been doing it for so long, it's been such a habit loop that you're not really conscious of when you actually grab that food, and you're not really staying present while you're eating that food, right? So although mindful eating kind of gets a bad reputation, I actually think it can be really helpful with putting a stop to binge eating and also helping you lose weight, because if we are not present while we're eating, if we're not paying attention, we're doing things like multitasking, we're eating really fast, right? And especially when this is paired with binge eating behavior where you are reaching for food at the end of the day as a way to comfort or to feel a certain way, your brain is going to remember that, right? You get a reward when you eat, and that's going to light up your dopamine. And it's actually pretty easy, right? It's just like anything else, like cigarettes or drugs. Like you start to end up in this habit loop, and over time it gets more and more automated. So that's why quitting this stuff, yeah, it seems really simple, but it's actually not very easy. So a lot of this stuff, yes, is going to be nutritional, like I was just talking about, but yes, there's going to be a lot of things like habits and really understanding how the human brain works, right? So anyway, going back to mindful eating, it really can be helpful because a lot of women, going back to like programming, right? Like we've been conditioned for so long. If you're my age or older, you probably remember just, keep your portions small, stay as skinny as possible, don't eat too much, right? Like this is the messaging we've had. So unfortunately, a lot of us, even in our adulthood, we're still like in that conditioning. So what happens is we end up not nourishing ourselves properly. But the issue with that is that a lot of times that's going to cause us more hunger and more cravings. So this is when I see women basically ping pong back and forth between starving and stuffed, when really it's more nuanced than that. So hunger, I like to teach hunger on a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 being like starving, and then 10 is going to be like Thanksgiving stuffed, right? What we don't want to do, we don't want to eat between those two extremes, at least not all the time, right? So think of a scale of 1 to 10, and for the most part, if you're trying to lose weight, I would say stop at like a 7 with your meals. So like on a scale of 1 to 10, 7, okay, you're going to eat to 7, and then I wouldn't let myself get past 3, ideally. So once you're at a 3, you really need to start thinking about eating again. What this is going to do, because I know for me, this is exactly how I am. If I wait too long to eat, I am not going to make good decisions with my meals. Does anyone else have that same issue? Like, put a hand raise emoji in the comments if that is resonating with you. But I know for me, like, if I would wait too long to eat, I would be like ravenous. And of course, like, all the highly palatable foods sound really good, right? Like, that's when like the fast food sounds really, really tasty. So we definitely don't want to do that, right? So by doing this little scale and by checking in, and that's going to be the action step for today, our challenge for today, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, you're going to make more conscious, more aware decisions with your nutrition. So that's how I like to explain it. Of course, if you have different goals, you might be eating to different levels, but ideally I would say eat to about a 7. Maybe an 8, right? Maybe if you're trying to maintain your weight, eat to like an 8. And then I would not let that hunger drop past a 3 if possible. So, mindful eating can really help you slow down. So there's a few things with this, right? When we are more mindful, if we are chewing our food thoroughly, if we are taking our time eating and like actually enjoying the experience, you're going to probably eat less. So there's one thing right there, right? So even just slowing down, enjoying your meal, making it an experience, spending time talking to the people that are eating dinner with you or whatever meal you're having. Even that, like that's something super simple that we all could probably improve on. But also mindfulness is really, or mindful eating, it's actually interchangeable. This is really going to help you. Again, we're going to be talking about this tool here in just a second, but it's going to help you make better decisions. And also you're going to learn the difference between physical hunger and emotional hunger, because a lot of people actually do not know the difference, and there is a difference. So let's talk about that real quick. So physical hunger, you're going to feel like your belly's kind of hollow, your stomach might growl. So those are some really like telltale signs that you're actually hungry. If it's been more than a couple hours since you've eaten, it's more than likely probably going to be physical hunger. Emotional hunger, on the other hand, usually comes on really fast, versus physical hunger is a little bit slower to set in. Emotional hunger is going to come in really fast, and also emotional hunger a lot of times is going to be for a particular food. Okay, so it might be ice cream, or most of the time it's going to be something like highly palatable, like ice cream or a fast food type meal, things like chips, something salty, maybe something creamy. So you'll know if it's a craving, or an emotional urge to eat, if you're craving a certain food, especially if it's like a highly palatable food. Physical hunger, anything is going to sound good, like even like chicken and broccoli, like that would actually be okay. Versus again, with emotional urge to eat, that's going to be more something specific. So think of like, if this is really physical hunger, then more than likely I'd be okay with like a meat and veggie type meal. Okay. So let me know if this is making sense in the comments. If you guys have any questions, let me know, whether you're here live or watching the replay. Let me know if you guys have any questions about that, okay? So really important to know the difference. Now, we're going to go ahead and move into today's tool. So thanks again for being here. I'm really excited to share this tool because this is something very simple that you guys can implement and start doing today, okay? So here's what I want you to do. Today's challenge is to either set an alarm every 3 hours on your phone, or if you have like a watch and you have like a timer on that, you could do that every 3 hours, okay? Or if you're kind of old school, I've done this before, you can use Post-it notes, okay? So whether you're at work during the day or at home during the day, you can put Post-it notes like anywhere that you're going to frequent. So, you know, the kitchen or the break room, at your desk, kitchen table, bedroom mirror, bathroom mirror, whatever, right? So you're going to want to post these Post-it notes to remind yourself every 3 hours to not eat. That's not what I'm saying. You might need to eat, maybe, but all I want you to do is check in with a couple or just one question, and we're going to go over those questions, okay, right now. So every 3 hours, okay, you're going to be prompted by your phone alarm or by Post-it notes, okay? Every 3 hours, you're going to check in and you're going to ask yourself one of the following questions. How hungry am I on a scale from 1 to 10? Okay. So this does a few things. So the first thing it does, it helps you realize that there is more between just starving and stuffed, right? We want to avoid that. We don't want to let ourselves get too starving because then we overeat a lot of times. And then when we overeat, we might try to starve ourselves again as a result, right? To like try to fix that, right? So instead, you are going to give yourself a number on a scale of 1 to 10. So again, 10 being stuffed, 1 being starving, okay? So that way you can kind of see it like this is nuanced, right? Now, this is going to help you realize that there is a scale of hunger. It's not just black or white, right? We have some gray in between, all right? So that's the first thing it's going to teach you. The second thing is going to teach you is this is really big for you guys that are like, I don't know how to plan meals. I don't know, right? Like this is going to change everything for you. So the other thing it's going to help you do is going to help you kind of come up with some kind of plan. So for example, if I check in and I'm like, okay, I'm at a 5, I probably don't need to eat right now. It'd probably be okay if I ate a little bit, like a small snack, or I could just wait a couple more hours until like I'm a 3 or a 4, right? So what that does is going to give you a little bit of time, okay, to anticipate your hunger that's probably going to be coming in within the next couple hours, right? And you guys will start to kind of see, like, I know for me, I know my body well, and I know for me, I generally will eat big enough meals to where I'm not hungry for like 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 hours. So you'll start to kind of know. Some people are different, right? So I would say, okay, I'm going to save this for here in just a second. So basically, you're just going to check in with your hunger, right? And again, this is going to help you make better choices because you're going to have a little bit more time to think through what you're going to do. Like, okay, so if I'm a 5 right now, that means I'm probably going to be ready to eat in probably the next hour or two, probably maybe 3 at the most. So I really need to start thinking about what that's going to be. Now, I'm not meaning obsess. I'm just saying, right? Like start thinking about what that looks like, okay? And again, this is going to be way better than waiting until you're a freaking 1 and then you're ravenous and then pair that with like some bullshit going on with work, right? That's like a recipe to go make, you know, a choice that's probably not going to align with the goals that you want to reach, right? So, you know, like we've been talking about this whole week, like there's nothing wrong with eating a fast food meal or going out to eat or having some processed foods or having, you know, a calorie bomb. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But again, if you guys want to lose weight, right, we need to make a deficit somehow. So by practicing mindful eating, you guys are going to be able to really stop that knee-jerk reaction of, you know, just reaching for food and be able to kind of think through your decisions a little bit better, okay? So that's what I want to say about that. Another question you can ask, so you got hunger on a scale of 1 to 10. You also have how satisfied am I feeling from my last meal? This is a really good question to ask, okay? And the reason is this. we want to eat to satisfaction. Just like we talked about yesterday with moderation and eating to satisfaction, we talked about the preemptive cheats. We really want to make sure that we are not depriving ourselves, right? We want to make sure that we are making like a moderate choice, all right? So kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. Just kind of went blank. But anyway, you want to eat to satisfaction. So meaning you're not like hungry like 1 to 2 hours later, right? Ideally, you're going to be full for a good 3+ hours. So 3, 4, 5, 6 hours between meals. If you're feeling really hungry, like 2 hours later, more than likely there's a few scenarios. Okay. So one scenario, your meal or snack was too little. I see this a lot. So if you're having like a 200 calorie lunch, that might not be enough fuel, just like calories in general, right? We might need to bump that up a little bit because again, a lot of times if we have these little tiny meals, it's just going to make you want to eat in like 2 hours. And a lot of times like in the afternoon, like you might want to grab like some chips or something. Again, nothing wrong with eating that stuff, but we can probably add a little bit more calories to that lunch. So that way you're not going to feel so much need to snack, if that makes sense. Let me know if you guys have any questions about this, okay? Another scenario, okay, if you're hungry 2 hours later after a snack or a meal, really more a meal, I would say, you might not be eating enough protein, okay? Or you might not have any dietary fat. Again, both are great. Protein is really the most satiating macronutrient. But at the same time, we need to remember that you can't really get energy from protein, at least not very well. You're going to get energy from either carbs or fat. Carbs are going to be the preferred use. So if you have glucose, you're going to be using carbs as fuel. So that's another issue I see. I see some people that just eat protein, and it's like, you need to eat carbs and fat, or at least one of the other, right? Like you can't just eat protein. So that could be another scenario. If you're hungry 2 hours later, it might not be enough protein. That's more than likely what that is. But sometimes I have seen people just try to eat like, you know, they're not eating like a lot of carbs, but they're not eating a lot of fat either. And that can cause issues because, again, you can't really make energy from protein. Okay, you really need carbs or fat to do that. So those are the two scenarios. So what that can help you do is kind of like rate your meals. So, okay, like that lunch, it just made me want to eat chips later, and too many of them. So what we can do things like, okay, we can look at the meal. Do I need to just add a little bit more protein to it, or do I need to add protein in general? Do I just need to add maybe a little bit more calories? So you guys can play around and tweak that and see what works for you. So that is to the questions. You could add another question. And again, you don't need to ask all three of these. You just pick one of them. Okay. The third question is, what am I craving now? So that's a really good one. This is a really good one for preemptive cheats. Again, we talked about preemptive cheats in day 4. If you guys want my cheat sheet, you guys can comment cheat sheet. It walks you through how to do these. Really powerful tool for getting cravings under control. But anyway, this will help you be like, okay, if I'm craving, like say I'm craving some chocolate, okay? Instead of denying myself chocolate, here's what I would do personally. If I check in and I'm like, you know, I'm kind of craving a little bit of chocolate right now. And the important thing that is I don't want you guys to judge yourself based on your answers. If you're craving something, it's totally okay. I crave stuff all the time. Like, it's totally human. And I do want to say that is really important while you do these mindful eating practices, that you don't judge yourself, okay, because of the answer that you have, okay? Like, we're just using this as like basically data, so that way we can tweak our nutrition so it's personalized just for us, so we feel satisfied, right? But we're also nourishing our own body adequately, and that's going to look different for everyone. But anyway, dang it, I did it again. Oh, but going back to that, I keep going off. Dang it. What was I saying? Who's here live? Oh, craving. Okay, that's right. Going back to craving. So the last question is, if I ask myself, am I craving anything right now? First of all, don't judge yourself. And that also gives you an opportunity to be like, okay, maybe at my next snack, I'll have like something like a protein bar. So say I'm craving some chocolate. Okay. Like, okay, maybe my next snack, I'll just do one of those built protein bars. Those are really, really good. It could also be chocolate. I'm like, okay, well, maybe after lunch, when I have lunch, I'll go ahead and just give me all the things. So those are the 3 questions. And again, you guys just need to pick out one. So I might start off the first part of the day with how hungry am I? Next time I might ask myself, how satisfying was that last meal? Okay, do I need to make any changes to that last meal? So let me know if you guys have any questions, but really simple. But again, I just want to reiterate this, okay? Here's the thing. Yes, you do need to cut calories in some capacity to lose weight. This is true. You do need to eat less calories than your body is burning. So some of you guys might be thinking, then how in the hell is mindful eating going to help me? But again, whenever you're in more touch with your hunger cues, your fullness cues, whenever you know the difference between physical and emotional hunger, this can change everything for you because you're going to stop that knee-jerk reaction for reaching for food at the end of the day because you're going to slow down that reaction because then you're going to be like, wait, this might be just emotional hunger, right? So even just stopping for that split second is enough to disrupt that habit cycle, okay? That's exactly why this works. And I will even go as far to say, I've been saying this, so some of you guys might know, I am not necessarily anti-diet. Like, I have a lot of colleagues, like I have friends that do similar things as I do that are health coaches. They work with women to help them with mindful eating and that type of thing. I actually have a lot of colleagues and friends that teach similar things as me. But here's the thing, I'm actually not anti-diet. I do think that there is a time and a place to do it. And I actually have a macro counting course. I have that for sale. I also have it inside my membership. So I am not against things like macro counting and dieting and things like that, but I am against when it's done irresponsibly. And I do think that the diet industry, and there's also a lot of just misinformation from other coaches and trainers about what it actually takes to lose weight. So I'm actually not anti-diet. I do think that there is a time and a place for it, but the thing is that if you do not have mindfulness and moderation, if you're not able to make moderate choices, if you're not able to know the difference between physical and emotional hunger, you're probably going to yo-yo with your nutrition. And when you have a lot of highs and lows in your nutrition, then that can translate to your weight, right? Because you're going to probably more than likely be in a calorie surplus. So even if you're dieting a lot of the times, if you're overeating, those highs can be really high. It's easy to consume a lot of calories in a short amount of time. So that's why, even though you might be dieting some, even if you diet more than binge, then more than likely you're probably going to struggle with your weight. You're probably going to struggle with weight loss resistance or even gradual weight gain over time. Okay. So like I've been saying throughout this whole challenge, mindfulness and moderation are actually the prerequisite of macro counting, because if you don't, if you have like all these food rules and you continue to do this all or nothing diet cycle of starting a new diet every Monday only to find yourself falling off a couple weeks later or even by the end of the week, and you end up overindulging, you end up saying, screw this. Guys, we need to avoid the F-it effect. Okay. The F-it effect. You guys all know what I'm talking about. Let's talk about the F-it effect. The F-it effect, or the fuck it effect, is basically when you're like, I'm going to be good. This time's going to be different, right? You restrict and you're too strict on yourself. You don't let yourself eat your favorite foods, right? You just get it out of the house and avoid it completely. You use willpower, but then something happens. Maybe there's a shit show going on at work, or your kids are screaming, Mom, 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 driving you freaking nuts. And you're just like, F it, right? F it. I'm just going to have a little bit of this, right? And then it turns into, right? And then you try to correct that behavior by going on another diet, and then it starts all over again. So we want to avoid the F it effect, because when you say F it, You're like, you have like maybe some thoughts like, see, I knew this wasn't going to work for me. See, I'm never going to figure this out. I might as well enjoy myself. Might as well have fun, right? And then you give up on your goals. And I don't want that to happen for you guys, okay? So the effort effect is real. I actually think it's like an actual like psychological term. I believe so, actually. But that's exactly what we want to avoid. We don't want to keep doing this start-stop stuff with our diet and exercise. Start-stop, right? If you're constantly starting over, you're losing progress. So I know it can be easy to like fall for the quick fixes, but ladies, there's really nothing quick about those fixes because it just puts you back. But yet nobody wants to do the mindful eating and like the boring stuff that it takes to actually lose the weight and keep it off. So walking enough throughout the day. Guys, we do not need to do a whole bunch of sweaty cardio. Like even just walking enough is enough. I have not done cardio in 2 years, like truth. I've literally have not done any cardio besides walking, and I have done a couple intense hikes, I will say that. But I do not run, I do not do jump rope, I do not do HIIT, okay? I'm not saying it's bad, I'm saying it's literally not needed for fat loss. You guys don't need to do crash diets. We talked about this in day 1 and 2, how this sets you up to fail. Most people cannot outsmart their physiology and their psychology, okay? At some point, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even next week, but eventually, more than likely, it's going to end in binge, right? So we've got to find that moderation. We got to find that middle ground between being too strict and being all out, okay? Remember, compliance and defiance. So on one end, when we're depriving and we're like, I must be perfect or else, that's compliance, right? But what happens when we're like always compliance, 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 and then it's like we rebel. We rebel. We literally like rebel, like screw this. I'm not going to do this, right? So we need to stop this ping-ponging. And that's exactly why I wanted to do the challenge this week. So thanks so much for being here. I'm going to leave it at that. I do want to let you know, though, you're never behind, and I want to reiterate that. But I also want to let you know that on Monday, I'm going to be opening the doors to my one-on-one coaching program, which is called Moderation 365. So this is actually a curriculum. I actually went through a certification process for this. And this is a program designed to help you eat the same on Saturday as you do on Monday, taking out the highs and the lows in your nutrition. And just like we talked about, remember, like if you have a lot of highs and lows in your nutrition, more than likely you're probably in a calorie surplus. And unfortunately, when you're eating more calories than your body needs, it's going to result in unwanted fat gain. So that's the whole goal. So Moderation 365, it is a one-on-one high-touch coaching program with me. You're going to get private messaging with me. You get one-on-one sessions with me, implementing all these tools. And this is just scratching the surface. There is a lot more. We do things like exposure therapy. So if you have a trigger food, a food that you do not feel in control around, if there's a food that you overeat on every single time, we actually go through, me and you, through exposure therapy to where we actually expose you to that food. So what that does is going to help you take it off the pedestal, because if you've ever noticed when you've done a diet, so say like whether it's like a clean food diet, for example, and you have to like get out all the junk food out of the house, right? Like you guys ever do that? Like I've done it before. But anyway, you get all the, your snacks, all your favorite snacks out of the house. You throw it all away. But then like a couple of days later, what are you craving? You're craving all the crap, right? You're craving all the processed stuff. So just like, when you do like a low carb diet or anything like that, right? Like a lot of times when you take out something, it just makes you want it even more. It's like you always want what you can't have, right? So we actually go through exposure therapy with that. Not only that, we also go through something else that we did not talk about with this challenge. We also go through like old food narratives. So I don't know if you're like me, but if you grew up in a house that you had to clean your plate, eat your vegetables, right? Like I definitely grew up with that. You have to like eat your meat before you eat your dessert, right? So a lot of times this will move into our adulthood and you might not even be aware of it. So I actually took one of my friends through this whole process and it was amazing. It was oh my gosh, it was so eye-opening for her. We also go over, this is really big, especially you all that are like in big social circles, but food peer pressure. And you know what? We all deal with this. I know I dealt with this just like at the last holiday gathering I was at. But food peer pressure might look like this, like, oh, be bad with me, get the nachos, right? Or come on, stay for another round of margaritas. So we go through exactly how to handle those situations. And ladies, you really need to know how to handle those difficult situations if you want to lose weight and keep it off. So I only have 8 spots, and that's actually going to be, that will be quite the schedule. So I have only 8 spots for this high touch, one-on-one, complete binge-free eating and food freedom system. So it is a 12-week program. I will have more details about like the deliverables, but basically this is for you if you are over the age of 40, if you are struggling with out of control cravings that are so difficult to say no to, that you feel like you're almost always caving into these cravings. And because of those cravings and because you're caving into them, you're consuming more calories than you need. And sometimes you even overeat on these foods, okay? And I'm willing to bet after you overeat on these foods, a lot of times you try to fix that by going on another diet come Monday. Going on another low-calorie diet or Whole30, whatever the case may be. But it seems like the cycle never ends. You do good for a few days. You know, you might even get through most of the day, or maybe you even get through the whole week. But by the time the weekend comes, or maybe even a few weeks later, at some point, your willpower drains and you throw your hands up in the air, you say F it, and there you go, back at it again, overeating, and then waking up the next day feeling guilty, feeling shameful, and then you're like, oh, I got to fix my eating, I'm going to go on another diet, and it just never ends. Ladies, remember, the low-calorie diets are biting you in the ass, okay? So what if you invested in one-on-one coaching, okay? One-on-one, high-touch, personalized, where you get to pick what you are willing to do as far as changing your nutrition and picking out things that are actually going to be realistic for you to do, that are realistic for your lifestyle, that are still going to be enough for you to be consistent with. And that's what we need. We need consistency. Okay. So if you are ready to calm those cravings, and I'm telling you right now, if you're in your 40s or 50s, perimenopause is real. And you know what? Cravings do get more intense at this age because our hormones are waning. And not only that, our hunger hormones like ghrelin and leptin can get wonky. So it's no wonder we have these cravings, right? So cravings are going to get more intense. And like I was talking about in yesterday's live stream, I hear so many women that are like, Courtney, I don't understand. I'm like in my 50s and my cravings and my binge eating is getting worse. Like my nutrition is literally getting worse. That is actually not uncommon, right? Like a lot of us think that like age for some reason is going to like, you know, be a good enough teacher to, but here's the thing. Most people are not teaching these skills, okay? And the reason why your nutrition might be getting worse and your binge eating gets worse and your cravings are getting worse is because for a lot of us, you might have been doing this for a long time. And yeah, if you were binge eating in your 20s and 30s, it's probably not going to impact your weight like it is now. Okay? And not only that, it's become a habit. And we've been talking about this. There's a difference between conscious, right? And subconscious. Think conscious is when you are 15, you're learning how to drive, you're like, oh my God, I am paying attention to everything. You're like in a panic, right? But you are definitely present. But then we also have subconscious when, you know, maybe 30 years later, you drive to work and you're like, I don't remember driving, right? Because it's so second nature, right? So if you want to get out of automated urges to reach for food, especially when things are tough, especially on those tough days, right? If you're wanting to quiet those cravings, then Moderation 365 might be a good fit for you. But it's definitely not uncommon to have more cravings and your nutrition habits get worse with time because, again, these things are habits and they get more and more automated over time. But there is a way to disrupt that. And ladies, you can keep doing the diets, you can keep doing the quick fixes, but again, it's just going to keep setting you back. They're really not quick fixes at all. The basic stuff works. So learning how to fit your favorite foods into your nutrition. We go through that in Moderation 365. Having some autonomy, right? Like, you're not going to be successful following some freaking clean meal plan that is no fun, that's low like, no one's going to be able to do that long term. Like, nobody is. I can't follow a meal plan like that. Like, give me a break, right? Like, if you want to have autonomy and be able to pick out what you're doing, so that way, like, you can actually be consistent with it, and that's what it's going to take to lose weight, then this can be a great option. So I am not going to talk about price or anything like that. I will come live into the group. I do realize I am opening the doors to enrollment on spring break, but I do know that a lot of you guys are off, so maybe it'll be a good week to actually sit down and watch the live streams that I do next week in our group talking about Moderation 365. I will have the doors open Monday through Friday. If I do not fill those spots, I might possibly open it up to the public outside of this group and outside my email list just for a couple days, like maybe over the weekend. But also, if I fill up, I will have to shut the doors because, again, this is just me. I do not have any other coaches that work for me. I'm a one-woman show at the moment. So you will get coaching with me, okay? It's definitely high touch. So even if you're like, okay, I like the idea of this, but I feel like I just couldn't keep up with the challenge, you would be able to keep up with this because you would have actually access to the portal. You actually have like your own portal with all the content. You get lifetime access to that, okay? The 3 months, you will get 2 one-on-one coaching sessions a month, so every other week. If for some reason we cannot get all of those coaching sessions, so that comes to 6 sessions, I will even extend it out to a 4th month. So that way, for some reason, if you're traveling or whatever the case may be, we can actually have that another additional month for you to be able to complete those coaching sessions with me. Also, I can record the coaching session, so that way you can reference that and you can keep that replay forever. There is also the preemptive cheat sheet in there. There is also journaling prompts for helping you get control of binge eating. And also you will get the bonus, which is the how to handle cravings. Okay, this is freaking phenomenal. We go over how the brain works. And this is really important because if you don't understand how the brain works, then you're probably going to struggle a little bit because you need to understand how habits work. So if you sign up next week, Monday through Friday, or before I run out of spots, you will actually get lifetime access to how to handle cravings, which has lots of great journaling prompts to help you know how to handle those cravings. And there is a way, it is a skill, and you can develop this skill so you can put a stop to binge eating. So thanks so much. I really appreciate you all being here. It was not my intention to go this long. Again, I'm sorry, and I'm not actually going to be sorry because this is just how I am. Again, like, I could talk about this shit for like 3 hours straight, literally. And one of these days I'll probably have some kind of in-person event. That's totally my dream. But yeah, only next week I'm going to have this open. And again, if I fill up, I'm definitely not going to be able to add any more people. So just keep that in mind. I am going to do a little mini promotion on my membership for women, Lean Physique. This is a little bit more around macro counting and also weightlifting. So it's like a nutrition and weightlifting course for women over 40. I'm going to have a very small promotion for that. I'll probably do like, I'm thinking about doing a workshop, like a 2-part workshop, one on fitness and one on nutrition for women over 40. Look for that probably the week after spring break. So probably that first week of April, maybe the second week of April, which I will have that open to where if you are interested, you can get on my wait list for the free trial that I offer for Lean Physique. You can do a free 2-week trial. So be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, I will probably do another challenge just like this, the Food Freedom Challenge. Early May is my aim, okay? So in about 6 weeks. So thank you so much. I will put the replays below. And Monday, if you guys signed up for the challenge, I will send you all of the info on Moderation 365 in your inbox early Monday morning. The doors are going to be open for 5 days only. All right. Thank you so much for being here, ladies. And can't wait to see your wins in the comments. And I will see you on Monday. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.